And he succeeded Ben Bernanke as chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. Our guest host for the next 2 hours, award-winning economist Ed Lazear, joins us now. He teaches economics at Stanford University. You were in the Bush White House, but before that, you were just like an academic at Stanford. And now you're an academic at Stanford. And even in the White House, you were more policy, or not policy, you were more theoretical type stuff. You're a thinker, right? You had that other...
Is that good or bad? I'm not sure.
I'm just trying... I'm trying to preface everything saying that you're not here to talk about the political angle of things.
Right.
You're talking about to talk about what is. And what is different about last time you were on is that we really have seen a significant deterioration in what you follow in the economy.
We surely have. If you look at the numbers right now, almost all the numbers are down. That's particularly true in the labor market, as you know. I'm a labor economist by training,
and we always talk JOLTS, and we're going to get a claims number today too.
Exactly. Well, if you look at the last JOLTS numbers, JOLTS stands for Job Openings Labor Turnover Survey. It's another survey put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But the nice thing about JOLTS is what it does is it gives you hires and separations broken down into quits and layoffs. So it gives you a lot more texture. You can really follow what's going on in the exactly. You can follow what's going on in the market, in the labor market. And what we've seen over the past couple of months, and last month in particular, which is a little frightening, is there's been a very dramatic decrease in the number of hires, and there's been a decrease in the number of quits. Now, the reason hires decreases is important. That's obvious. If the economy's not hiring as many as it was, and by the way, it's hiring the same number as back in January of 2009. That's pretty scary, because January 2009 was when we were on a significant way down.
Well, we were at 7.8 because we know that was Inauguration Day. We were at 7.8, and we just went straight over 10.
Right. So that's not encouraging. The piece of good news over the past couple of months was that quits were actually picking up. And in the last report, quits started to turn down again. And the reason that that's indicative of what's going on in the economy, it's pretty obvious, too. If you think about it, people quit when they feel there are job opportunities out there. They don't quit if there are no job opportunities out there. So when quits start to fall, that tells you that the people who are actually in the labor market feeling the everyday action that's going on are not willing to take the chance.
They're glad to have the job that they have, even if they're not that happy.
So, that coupled with the last few months of employment reports has not been encouraging. And it's actually been worse, because last month it wasn't just that the unemployment rate ticked up a little bit, but the trend in job growth has been really negative. The trend, it's not just a blip anymore. And last month, the one thing that I always focus on, I learned this from one of my guys when I was chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, is you look at the hours. You look at average weekly hours. And the reason is that a 1/10 of an hour decline is equivalent to about 350,000 jobs. So that's huge in terms of the amount of labor.
Wait, say that again.
1/10 of an hour is equivalent to 350,000 jobs.
Wow.
So
I had no idea.
Just if you multiply it out, just figure it out. Just do the arithmetic and figure out how much that means multiplied across the labor market. So it's enormous. And so when you see a decline like that, that tells you that the labor market is really softening, and it's just started to go back in the other direction.
Okay, we have the fiscal cliff, and we have 2013 coming, and just reading between the lines for what you're saying, either a slowdown to 1% or a recession isn't out of the question. Is there any historical precedent for a recovery which has already been tepid, actually petering out, and
1934,
like 80-82.
80-82, sure, that would be. But the difference with 80-82 is that in some sense we're already past 80-82. We should already be in a pretty strong recovery phase. One of the things you want to think about, and I made this point last week in a Wall Street Journal op-ed, but one of the things that you want to think about is that we actually were on a positive growth trajectory that was pretty good. The recession ended. It really did end.
And I showed a chart last night, Ed, with Barry Knapp from Barclays on Kudlow when I was on. You mentioned that, showing the growth before the Affordable Care Act and before a couple of other. It was headed higher. Yeah. Claims were headed down. The unemployment rate was headed down, and you can put a point in time where some of these policy initiatives that were huge, that were pretty, as opposed to the Reagan policy back then was kind of the opposite. And the claims continue to come down, and so did the unemployment rate. I mean, do you really think that that's responsible?
Well, let's put it this way.
Timing doesn't mean cause.
Right, of course. I mean, the timing is coincident in the sense, and I don't mean coincident and accidental. I mean coincident in that they're together
at the same time.
But if you look at when this thing turned around, it was basically July of 2010. So until July of 2010, we looked like we were on a recovery.
A normal recovery.
Well, pretty close to normal. 4% growth is pretty good. Could have been better, but that wasn't terrible. And by the way, that's what we were calling for. So, when I left the White House back in January of 2009, we had to put out a forecast. The Council of Economic Advisors does this every year. And we put out a forecast, and we were saying that the economy would start to pick up at the end of 2009 and grow pretty strongly in 2010. Everybody thought we were nuts, but that's actually what happened. And it wasn't based on stimulus, by the way. That was based on just the normal projections on what happened.
It wasn't a normal recession, though.
It wasn't, but that actually goes in the other direction in the sense that it was a much stronger recession. So what we know from historical record is that the stronger the recession, the stronger the recovery.
Even credit recessions?
Well, even credit recessions. The question is the timing. So, if you think look at the Great Depression. That was a credit recession, right? You had an enormous stock market crash, and you had an enormous loss in GDP. But if you look at the 3 years in the mid-30s that followed that first 3 years of crash.
Before the second.
That was 35% growth in 3 years. 35%. So you had an enormous swing back, and that was financial. So again, I'm not sure how much you make of that.
Wow. All right.